What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? Today on the show, we are going to be actually going over the resurrection of Jesus. In case you guys don't know, Sunday is Easter, when a whole lot of shit never happened around 33 AD. So, today's episode isn't really sponsored by this, but I did want to mention it. It's the Crestus app that's on both the Google Play and the Apple Store or whatnot. But if you're really interested in like mythicism and just information about early Christianity in general, definitely look into getting this app because it is very informational and it'll help you out in any kind of arguments that you might find yourself in, while you're on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or wherever. So definitely go and check this out. I know it'll help a lot of people out. It's done in coordination with Richard Carrier himself, so please go and check it out. But yes, today we are looking into the resurrection of Jesus, and we have a juicy fucking video. It's about scientific proof for Jesus' resurrection. And I think you're going to be surprised with the way that they go about this, because it was news to me the way that they went about it. So if you're interested in this new scientific proof for Jesus' resurrection, please stay tuned. Which is, so this is scientific proof of the resurrection of Jesus. So I hope you guys have your butt holders a-holding, because we're going to be taking left and right turns, and we're even going to be doing somersaults, at least mentally, in order to get through this. So I hope you're ready. But I am going to get cancer because of this video.
Scientific team regarding the Shroud image. The actual image.
Oh, okay. So I can already tell. It's about the Shroud. Of course, I mean, I've watched this through one time already, but so prepare yourselves. It's about how the Shroud actually has Jesus's like blood image on it or something. I don't know.
Image was created by a phenomenon as yet unknown, or a momentous event that caused a rapid cellulose degradation, aging, of the linen fibers. That is, an accelerated dehydration and oxidation of the very top linen fibrils of the cellulose fibers of the Shroud.
Okay, so wouldn't that mean that it would be in a more advanced stage of aging now? Like, you kind of make it seem like the parts that are stained or whatnot are special and they're older than the rest of the fabric. So, like, if you were to carbon date the part of the stain, it would be older than the rest of the fabric. I don't know, that just really, I mean, I don't even know how to go about explaining that.
Thereby creating a sepia or straw yellow colored image similar to that of a scorch. In other words, the image was caused by something, nobody knows what, that affected only the very top of the fibrils that make up the fibers that in turn make up the fabric.
I mean, I've heard it said that we don't know how it was created exactly, but we have been able to mimic that. There's been an artist that's been able to mimic it. Not exactly the way that it was, but I mean, close enough. And I mean, none of this so far actually proves that Jesus was wrapped in it.
After thousands of hours of intense study, the world was left with yet another scientific enigma. A piece of fabric that is demonstrably hand-woven containing a surface anomaly in the shape and form of a crucified man, created by some process of undetermined origin.
All right. I mean, I don't think that they know exactly how it was produced. Again, that doesn't mean that it was fucking magical in production.
But how could an image containing so much information have been formed? There are those who believe the image could only have been formed by a burst of some sort of radiation. But the simple fact is, nothing like the Shroud image has ever been found or reproduced.
Did they just say that a ball of radiation was created in between the fabric and caused Jesus's whole face and everything to get like imprinted on it? Like, I mean, I don't even know how to process that. You're throwing science out of the window while masquerading as science and saying, oh, well, a ball of fucking radiation had to have manifested right there in Jesus's balls and then exploded out and caused his whole face and everything to be imprinted upon it. That's how it happened. Science proves it again.
But that's only the beginning of the astounding information to be gleaned from this amazing image. In spite of skeptics and setbacks, scientists continue their search. And Dame Isabel Pitzik, a particle physicist, believes the shroud has brought science to the threshold of a whole new understanding of physics. While dealing with the position of the body within the cloth, she discovered one of those mysterious properties that cannot be, yet somehow is.
Oh, what is that? Did Jesus write, I was here? Like JC was here 33 AD, 30 AD, whatever the fuck. Like, what was that scribbled in it? Is that what happened?
An interface that divides the image transport into two hermetically separate yet simultaneous actions and forces, causing the shroud to be taut and parallel on both sides, creating a true event horizon.
You can't be mixing in science terms with like fucking fake shrouds and shit. So you're saying that basically he was vacuum sealed in this fucking shroud? Like, I feel like that's what I think about. I think about Jesus being fed into one of those vacuum sealers, and it's like, all right, guys, vacuum seal this shit up. It's got to be all taut and parallel and shit, and it's got to have a perfect form on top.
In general relativity, we have found that there are certain things called black holes. Now, the surface of a black hole is called an event horizon.
Okay, are you seriously trying to suggest that there was an event horizon of a black hole right there in the middle of the sheets where Jesus's body was, and that was him being resurrected? Please don't tell me you're going there with this, because that's just fucking crazy and you got no evidence to support it.
And it's called that because right at that surface, the laws of physics seem to change character drastically.
Okay, so basically, honey, if I can explain this real quick. At the event horizon of a black hole, physics breaks down, and therefore Jesus could have been resurrected at the event horizon of a black hole that happened to appear between the two vacuum-sealed sheets of the Shroud of Turin in Judea. 30. No, that's what they were explaining, was that the shroud had to be pulled taut against it so that it made this perfect image. And so that's what makes me think of a fucking vacuum sealer. Like they just had a giant fucking vacuum sealer that was sucking out all the air in the sheets. And so apparently that is science proving Jesus resurrected. Let's go home, people. Pack all this shit up. Well, I don't know. I don't know. None of this stuff is really godless shit, so.
You look at the image of the shroud, the two bodies next to each other, you feel that it's a flat image. But if you create, for instance, a three-dimensional object, as I did, the real body, then you realize that there is a strange dividing element, an interface, from which the image is projected up and the image is projected down. The muscles of the body are absolutely not crushed against the stone of the tomb. They are perfect. It means that the body is hovering between the two sides of the shroud. What does that mean? That there is absolutely no gravity.
Oh shit! This woman right here just proved that aliens abducted Jesus's body, pulled it taut, vacuum sealed it while in space, and then created a black hole and resurrected Jesus right there in their ship and then sent him back down to Earth. Scientology was right. Fucking Xenu is the thing. All hail Xenu. I mean, I can see how she used science to get there. I mean, that's all science shit, you know? Black holes and zero G in the tomb, I guess. Maybe they buried him in a spaceship. We don't fucking know, do we? You don't know.
Other strange things you discover, that the image is absolutely undistorted.
Oh, and so it makes more sense that since the image is undistorted, it makes more sense that he was vacuum sealed and a black hole appeared than just it was fucking created like by an artist or by somebody wanting to sell a piece of like Jesus swag, you know, like that's less probable than fucking black hole alien shit. Are you fucking serious right now, woman? I mean, I get that you're a particle physicist and a monumental artist on the side, but come on. One of these doesn't make fucking sense, and I can guarantee you it's not the one that includes the artist creating the shit. And yes, somebody did mention that the Shroud of Turin is actually from 1325. That's when carbon dating has kind of put it, with a plus or minus of about 60 years. Now, there are some people that try to place it even earlier than that, trying to connect it to other shrouds in the area or whatnot. But again, I would say that generating like these religious artifacts was kind of the thing at the time. Having people that were trying to recreate certain artifacts that they knew of from the past or that existed at the time was totally a thing. And while there may be evidence of previous shrouds existing, that does not mean that they were this shroud, because the first reference that we have to it is actually in 1360. This guy comes up and he presents it and whatnot. So that was the first actual historical reference to it, but it dates back earlier as, as far as the carbon dating goes. And then you got some weird quackery shit that tries to place it in the 5th century AD, where apparently one small section of like the head cloth that was supposedly on Jesus, like one particular section of it matches up perfectly with the shroud's one particular section when you twist it and contort it in all these sort of fucking ways. And so that means that it actually dates back to the 5th century. And it's just like, how many times are you going to cut these puzzle pieces up to get them to fit together before you're like, man, maybe these puzzle pieces don't fit?
Now, if you imagine that the cloth was wrinkled, tight, wrapped around the body, and all of a sudden you see a perfect image, which is impossible unless the shroud was made absolutely taut, rigidly taut.
And that's how the fucking aliens teleported Jesus's body out. They vacuum sealed him and then teleported his body out, and then they're doing all this hoaxy shit.
Everybody thinks that the tomb signifies death. Not at all, the exact opposite. The shroud and the tomb signifies an unbelievable beginning.
You know why it's an unbelievable beginning, honey? Because it's not fucking real and it's not supported by scientific evidence. So I would have to say this video is fake news, good ma'am. Fake news.
Because in the depth of the collapsed event horizon, there is something which science knows as singularity. This is exactly what started the universe in the Big Bang.
Okay, I don't see how that has any bearing on Jesus dying and rising again, unless you're saying there was another smaller Big Bang. I don't know. Corpses fart and shit when they die, so I'm guessing maybe they heard a loud fart and was like, oh, it's the Big Bang, there's the event horizon right fucking there, let's go and get that shroud.
We have
choking on that Jesus stick is hard.
Nothing less in the tomb of Christ than the beginning of a new universe.
For centuries, the shroud has been viewed and analyzed as a record of a death.
Well, it may have been seen as like, well, we can't prove that it wasn't Jesus's at one time. I don't know if serious people would be like, oh, this is definitely a record of Jesus's death. I mean, once we were actually able to scientifically look at it, which they didn't allow until like 1978. Like, they didn't allow any kind of scientific testing of this shit until then. And even now, like, they have like a vial of like blood or something like that like coagulates and decoagulates and everything. And it goes in and out of those phases, but nobody can fucking like test it. Like, they won't allow it to be tested. And so basically you're just going off of what the church says. I mean, that exactly sounds like how everything after Christianity was adopted by the Romans, like after that 325 Nicene Council, it's like everything was just on the authority of the fucking church. It would be no surprise to me if they actually did say that this is an account of Jesus's death. But once we were able to actually verify it, it comes out fucking fake.
The end of the physical being. But Isabel Pitzik is suggesting that it is, in fact, just the opposite, a record not of an ending, but a beginning, which would suggest resurrection in its truest sense.
Yeah, seriously, you're saying that it's more likely that a black hole formed in the center of Jesus's nutsack and then created this event horizon and then he was vacuum sealed in this shroud, and then he was teleported fucking somewhere else, brought back to life, and then come back to Earth. That's more believable than a fucking artist creating this shit. Okay.
And according to Dame Pitzik, this is the starting base for the new physics. But is Isabel Pitzik out on a limb of physics where no one else wants to go? Perhaps not. Recently, a group of scientists trying to identify those things that are fundamental to the way nature works made some startling discoveries. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon, founder of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, author and lecturer, explains.
The classical traditional model in physics, which began in Newtonian times, describes how particles and atoms and molecules move and recombine. Even most of the 20th century, physicists only looked at the particle aspect of it and did not really concentrate very much on the informational aspect. And it's only really with the quantum hologram that we have brought information up to a par of importance with energy itself and with physicality.
Okay, I feel like they're just bringing in this guy to give it some kind of air of legitimacy because nothing he's saying is actually supporting his stuff.
So that we understand that the universe we live in not only exists because of its physicality, but it's understood because of its information. And this is a powerful new concept. And all physical bodies have such a holographic emission that is available non-locally, which means throughout the universe, non-locally at all times.
Wait, did this guy just legitimately say that everything in our universe has a holographic projection of itself that reaches all across the universe and is ever present everywhere? I feel like that's what he said.
Could it be the event horizon demonstrated by the image on the shroud sent information instantaneously throughout the universe?
No, that is not a fucking thing at all. Like, okay, listen, if that were the thing, we would be able to see the effects of this whatever the fuck happened. Like, black holes forming in the ball sack of a Judean man in 30 AD, or CE, whatever. Like, that would have tremendous effects on the immediate region around him. So, no, this doesn't make sense. No, Jesus resurrecting wasn't broadcast to the entire fucking universe when it fucking happened, because it didn't actually happen, nor is that how reality fucking works.
Does this mean that the resurrection was a universal event?
Physics has achieved a lot of success, and we think that we have pretty much everything, but it turns out we know we don't. We know there are missing links. We know there are puzzles and infinities cropping up all the time. And believe me, people are working to find some answers. But in spite of our successes, there are still some mysteries abounding.
And that's the end of the video. Basically casting doubt on it, saying that, oh, we don't know what's out there. So I feel like that very last part was them saying, oh, hey, look, we don't know exactly what the fuck reality holds. A event horizon from a black hole forming right at Jesus's navel or wherever the fuck it would have formed and pulling the shroud taut to make this image of Jesus on there is way more fucking probable than like some creative guy in the 14th century doing it. Like, what in the fuck? This is a mind fuck of epic proportions here. And no, this isn't scientific evidence. There was no science in this. There was like, well, okay, event horizons exist, black holes exist, radiation exists. Well, let's just cobble this shit together and just, oh, that's how Jesus resurrected, everybody, and it was broadcast everywhere to everybody in the entire universe. Suck on that, bitches. Thank you, Heathens, for making it to the end. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll go down below and leave me your comments about the video that I looked at or my responses. Let me know what you think about this whole black hole in Jesus's nutsack causing him to resurrect thing. I would love to have that conversation down there with you. Yes, about Jesus's nutsack. Thank you very much. While you're down there, cradle the balls and smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice, and I will see you heathens later. Happy Easter, y'all!